All right, hello. My project was Campus Connect, an app. My mentor was Mr. Firking, and we can start. So when I was researching, I've made it like a few apps before, but I was really trying to make this like the best way I could make it. So I was researching how do you actually start making an app, like what's actually the steps people do. So I found out there's like really 3 questions people ask themselves before they start actually making the app is what are you gonna make? Why would you make it, and why would people download the app? Why are they going to use it every day? And then how are you actually going to make an app? I think a lot of people probably have ideas for apps, but the stopping point is actually making it. So I had to figure out how I'm actually going to make Campus Connect. So the first question I thought was going to be easiest to answer is why would I want to make an app? Why other people going to use it, right? So when I was a freshman, my parents would take me to school, but they wouldn't give me a ride home since I lived pretty close to school. So they would say I could just walk and get a ride home. So I had theater practice till like 5:30 every single day. I was like, I don't even want to be walking like 20 minutes after theater practice, after dancing for like an hour and a half. So I asked like upperclassmen, hey, can I have a ride home? Can I have a ride home, please? A lot of upperclassmen were pretty helpful, and they gave me ride homes, but it was pretty much out of their way. Like some of them lived a complete opposite direction of me. So I was like, okay, there's have to be a better way of doing this. And like 2 years later, there was a senior who lived like 5 minutes from my house in the same direction of the school. I was like, I could have just been riding with you this entire time. So I was like, there's gotta be a better way for people to find rides as high schoolers, because I'm not the only one with this issue. I know plenty of people who still share rides as seniors. So there's definitely a way that I could solve this. And also, as Honors Academy, you have to get 100 hours of volunteer hours, right? And NHS, you have to get like 15 hours. And they all provide resources to find volunteer opportunities. But there's other students that also want to volunteer. College applications, they love seeing you volunteer. Just in general, volunteering is like a great thing to do for the community. And there's really no way to figure out, hey, there's a volunteer opportunity this Saturday at Community Harvest, right? Or Shepherd's Hands having an event next week, but you don't really know about it because there's no centralized board for it. So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna make an app for high schoolers that's gonna have ride sharing, I might as well also have like volunteer opportunities on it. And another thing high schoolers like is money, right? I think also adults like money as well, but a lot of high schoolers like have a part-time job, but maybe some high schoolers don't really know like how to find a job. They're also kind of lazy. I think a lot of also people can say they're pretty lazy. They don't want to look for a job. Again, so if there's an app that has all the job listings near you, I was like, okay, that's a pretty cool idea. Again, not really a market for that for high schoolers. Like there's markets for like job like Indeed.com for like adults, but like that's for like full-time jobs, like part-time jobs. That's like more like adult, like required degree, right? So a lot of high schoolers, they don't really have any resources for that. And then last feature I was like wanting to solve is managing extracurriculars. Main inspiration for this was Kemme Van Meter. As my best friend, would love to hang out with him as much as possible, but man, there's way too many extracurriculars in my opinion. He's involved in like marching band, theater, he does sports. I mean, he's very busy, and he needs to manage the schedule like very well if he wants to be able, time management, do school, and do like theater and marching band. So I was like, there's gotta be a better way of doing this. Theater used a website for just like 3 years, and you couldn't really like share the calendar with your parents that easily. So I was sharing every single event with my parents. It had a really hard time figuring out when I had rehearsal. I had to keep telling them when I did it. Like, in this day and age, we should be able to solve this issue through technology. So I was like, okay, I can do this as well, right? So this was like the why. I figured this was a good enough why for me. And so I went on with what this app is actually gonna look like. And my general, description of the app was just an app that would improve students' lives outside the classroom. So the 3 main goals of Campus Connect was to make life easier for students by helping them keep track of extracurricular activities, organize ride sharing, and provide a current list of job and volunteer opportunities. Would also help ease the life of coaches and staff by easing the process of managing extracurricular schedules, and make life easier for parents by simplifying the process of viewing their children's schedules throughout the many extracurriculars. But the most important thing is, how am I actually going to do this? How do you make an app? This was the hardest question for me to answer. So I spent a lot of time doing this. I made one other app before this that helped me get a foundation for this. But looking at a general overview of what an app is, there's two main aspects of an app, is the front end and the back end. The front end is everything you see, the buttons you click, the text you see on the screen, what happens when you swipe over something, what happens when you double tap an image. That's everything in the front end. That's like how the app works. And then the back end, you don't ever see, it's everything on the back end. It's running on the server. So like when you get notifications, that runs through the back end. When you store images, when you post something online, there's a file that gets saved on a server. And when you authenticate a user, right, when they create an account, when they try to reset a password, right, it's everything kind of on the back end. So I had to figure out how am I going to create a front end and how am I going to create a back end. So thankfully, there's lots of resources out there. So for my front end, I built it with Flutter, which is a programming language made by Google. It's a cross-platform programming language, so it can produce apps for Android and Apple. So I don't have to create two different apps, which I learned a lot of apps do. They make the same app twice, which seemed like a lot of work to me, and I'm not about to put that much effort into that. I've already put a lot of time into this, not going to double it for just Android and Apple. And then backend was built with Firebase, was also made by Google. Gotta say, I love Google right now. They're very helpful. Firebase is a service I've been using for a while now. I've been pretty familiar with it, and it's pretty cheap to use. It's not completely free, unfortunately, but there's like daily quotas of some stuff. So as long as I don't have 1,000 users, I should be good. And hopefully by then I'm finding some way to make some money, right? So with all that, I have the problem I'm trying to solve. I know I'm going to do it. We can look at the actual app, right? So I'll give you an overview of the app, and then we'll go into how the month-by-month basis of making this thing. So the first feature is ride sharing. This is some screenshots from the app. You have the one page showing all the requests you sent out, or maybe you're the driver saying, hey, these are people who want to ride today. These people who want to ride tomorrow, right? And then the next screen on the right showing you the screen how you request a ride. So it's based on the time of day. It automatically detects if you want to go from home to school or from school to home. Or it can also go to sporting events. So if you're in, let's say, tennis and there's a game that day, you can get a ride to the game. Or it's just you don't want to see it. You know, like a school event, you can say, hey, I want to carpool with like 3 friends right now. And I can see it. Anyone can give me a ride there, right? And then it's ride sharing. There's a pretty complex algorithm. I'll go in more depth in that later, but that was one of the hardest things here as well. And then we have the biggest feature of this app is activity management, right? So theater uses it for the shows. So there's 3 main features in activity management. There's resources, so they can upload links for students to see, like the recordings of dances or songs, or you can upload videos for, like, if you just had a game, you can upload the video of the game so people in the club can review it, right? Then there's also the calendar. The biggest thing in activity management is the calendar, right? You want to know when you have practice next, when's the next game, and then you can view it all there. One of the big features is it also syncs with your device calendar. So instead of having to open the app every single time, you can just open your Apple Calendar or Google Calendar, and all the events automatically synced there. So if you don't like using another app, you don't have to use it constantly. And then the last feature is group chats. So teachers can text the whole team. They can text just the parents. They can text just the students, right? You can create a group chat with just JV or varsity, right? So you don't want to be getting notifications as a parent every single time. You want to have, like, the coaches just want to talk to the students, right? People are busy, parents are busy, they don't want like 8 billion notifications, right? So I thought that was very helpful. I know one of the features is it sends a text to everyone, but individually. Mr. Murphy for theater, for every single like musical, would have like 80 people in it, and would text them individually, one by one on iMessage, the same message. And I don't know how he did that for like 8 years. I honestly don't know how he did that, but he was very thankful when I implemented that feature for him. Yeah. And then the last page, most recently added, was opportunities. So here you can see there's jobs, there's volunteers. You can post job postings. I'm partnering with some companies that will post jobs and volunteer opportunities, and then students get notifications when there's an opportunity near them that they can apply for or RSVP for. So then, how did I actually make this? What was the month-by-month basis? What did my last year look like? Very interesting, very long. Just some general statistics of the app is it has over 200 users currently, which is, I'm very happy with that. It's my biggest app I've made so far, and it's only growing. It has 30 users using it every single day. So they open the app, they use something with it, and it's pretty cool for me, having 30 people use an app that I've made. And then I've spent over 400 hours over the past year making this. Honestly, it's probably more, but I did not do a great job of keeping track of it, so I don't want to overestimate and say I've done way too much, but I can honestly say it's probably over 500 as well, but leave it at that. And then to show how big of a project this is, the code is just like letters, right? So if you compile all the letters and just count them, it's worth about 5 novels worth of code, which is about 2.4 million characters long. Assuming a novel is like 300 pages. So it's a pretty big project. A lot bigger than I thought it was gonna be starting. So I kind of had to finish it at this point, so yeah. It was a lot when I saw that number. I thought it was gonna be like 2 novels worth at most, but when I saw it was about 5, it blew my mind. So then I started this project in May, the end of the last school year. I started outlining what I wanted the app to look like because I needed a foundation. I couldn't just start with nothing. So I wanted the Campus Connect originally have 4 features. Again, I wanted to have ride sharing, activity management, job and volunteering board. I also wanted to have tutoring. This was a request by Miss Nash. She heard I was making an app and was like, I'd really love if there'd be a better way for students to find tutoring. And I also agreed with her. It was like, you can take a class to find tutoring, or if you want to help with tutoring, you can take a class. But I found a lot of the people who are going to tutor people are like really smart people who can be taking AP classes, who are in honors classes, also probably doing a lot of extracurriculars, right? So they probably want a study hall rather than tutoring someone, right? So like after school, maybe on a weekend, you could find a tutor, but there wasn't really a place for students to go to find that. So originally, I was going to have tutoring on as well, but as we'll learn, did not have time for that, unfortunately. And then in June, I started development on Campus Connect for the first time. It was very scary for me starting something new. I was starting on ride sharing because that was what I thought was going to be the hardest thing to add. It was not, but this was the most mathematical feature I added because it included developing an algorithm, which is just a process of solving a problem, to determine how many miles it would take to pick someone up from point A to point B. But also I had to take into account, to use Kemme's example, if Kemme was driving to school, it would be like 1 mile, right? But if he was to pick me up, how many more miles would it be for him to pick me up and then go to school? So I had to use Habermas formula. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that. I took honors geometry and knew you could find the distance between 2 longitude and latitude points, just didn't know how to do it. So through some research, I found this formula, and I was able to implement it through the app. So the app was able to determine, based on your home location, how many miles it was going to add. So then you're not finding, again, someone who lives like 8 miles away from you. They're not going to want to pick you up from home and take you to school. But someone who lives like 0.5 miles, they'll probably be happy to do it because it's probably not even out of their way. And then in July 2024, I finished up ride sharing mostly, so I moved on to activities management. Fun. I thought it was going to be really easy because I've done some of this stuff before. But I learned I was going to have to develop a new method of caching data onto the back end into the user's device. Caching is when you take data that's pulled from the cloud, so from Firebase, like from a server onto the user's the device, so then you don't have to keep fetching it every single time because that takes time and it costs a lot of money. My cost would be like 10x of it, what is it right now if I didn't cache. But it's really complicated to cache because a lot of reasons. If something's updated on the server, you want to refetch it again, but if it's only the device, then how do you know to refetch it, right? So this is like my biggest issue I would continue to have throughout my months, and I think I have it solved now, but honestly, I'm still finding some small bugs with caching, so I don't even know at this point. So I had to create a local database, which is just like a folder system, if you want to think of like a filing cabinet, but it's all stored on your phone, so it's obviously not really big. It's really small on the user's device. They don't even know it's there. And this helps when people have really, really bad Wi-Fi, the school. Sorry, but school's Wi-Fi isn't the best. It makes sense. We have like 800 students using it at once. It's not like their fault or anything. It just happens. So caching makes it so you can get data that's not easily available on the cloud. You can still view it because it's already saved onto your device. And then along with caching, I also needed, one of the big features was adding events from the app to the user's device, right? But you don't want to have like 5 events of the same event on every single day, right? You just want to have one. You don't want any duplicates. I was like, how do I solve that? You can't just have every time you open the app, it adds that event to your calendar. That doesn't make any sense. So I was like, how do I solve this? And I spent a few weeks thinking about this, but the solution I eventually came up with, which was pretty obvious, but every time I just cache an event, I also add it to the calendar. In theory, I should only cache events once, because one event should only be added to the user's device once. So there should be no duplicates, but this wasn't the case. With everything in app development, I've learned is anything you expect to happen will not happen. Something will go wrong. And I had to keep learning that over and over again, and I still have not accepted that fact yet because it's really annoying. So I continued to deal with this unfortunate bug for the next few months. I actually eventually solved this one issue for the first time. This is one of the first early bugs I actually have solved. And then through August 2024 and September, it was actually a pretty big moment for me because it was the first time an app was installed on my physical device. Every time before this, I was using a simulator on my computer. It's still cool, but like seeing an app on your device that you made is like 10 times cooler. So I was pretty happy when I was able to do this. This also meant I was able to start beta testing the app with my friends. So this was just testing the app with it probably not working like 80% of the features, but I could get some user feedback. Kemme was very helpful. He could have been doing a lot of other better stuff, probably studying for some tests or working on his honors Kemme project, but he was able to take some time out of his day to help me with it. So I was very grateful of that. And then I also met with Mr. Weander to get some feedback from a teacher because in theory, teachers should be using this app, so I want to get some feedback from teachers. And he gave me some very good feedback. And one of his main feedback was he wanted each event to have a different color based off of like if it was for JV, if it was for varsity, if it was for chambers, right? Unfortunately, this meant I had to rework the entire system for handling the device's calendar and caching. So yeah, again, not very fun. This is the part of app development I do not enjoy that much because it's not creating new things. It's remaking stuff I made a month ago. But it wasn't, again, not perfect, even though I remade it. But it supported creating different colored events, so I was happy. This was also my first meeting with Mr. Firking. He helped me figure out what the administrative side of an app would look like and how they would be using it, hopefully minimally, but again, they'd still need to be using it some. And then October to November, this was the beginning of Lion King, and he just moved the entire scheduling to a whole new website. And the first day of rehearsal, he'd said, guys, I don't know how to use this software. We're moving back to paper. And I was like, there's like 80 people in this cast, and there's rehearsal every single day, but different people doing different rehearsals. And it's like, I don't know how you're doing this, man. I could not. And I had a very hard time with it because I had to add every single event from the paper to my device calendar. I had to share with my parents. I was like, there's got to be a better way of doing this. So I texted into Mr. Murphy, set up a meeting with him, and I started making a custom website for him. Again, this was supposed to be an app and just an app. So now I'm making a website along with it. So you can see where the 400 hours came from. I'm making a website for him now too. So the website will be able to create shows, create characters, create outlines for the show, assign actors to the characters, and then you'll be able to create a schedule based on the show outline. So this is what the website he had, but it's a lot easier for him to use. It's a lot straightforward, and it's also easier for students and parents because there's an app to go along with it. So I kind of rushed this, but I'm kind of happy with how fast I was able to make the website. In 2 days, you were able to create the show outline. After 3 more days, the website was mostly finished for teacher use, and then after a total of 27 days, the website was ready to be used by teachers and students. So 27 days is pretty fast for me to make a fully functioning website, and I thought it was fully functioning. Later found out it was not. But again, fun. And this was also my second meeting with Mr. Firking. Again, I just showed him the website, told him people I was meeting with. He helped me, very helpful along the process. Okay, again, with the administrative side, because I don't know how to administrate a school or what that looks like at all. And then December, pretty big month for me. I met with Mrs. Porath, who directs the marching band, and Mr. Weander does the choir, teaches choir and director of choir, sorry. So I got feedback from her, and I was also going to discuss using Campus Connect for marching band. They currently use the band app, which was made for like marching band and just schedule management in general. So this is very big for me to see, hey, someone who's using an app like that right now, what do you want that app doesn't have? What do you want in my app that that app already has? And so this was very helpful for me. Like, this is some features I need to add. These are some features I should add. And this is some features that I maybe don't need because they were extra. And I think I was able to convince her to use it for next year. Fingers crossed, that's what she said, but still figuring that out as well. And then I met with Mr. Weander again, got more feedback, showed him the stuff I added that he asked for, and discussed using Campus Connect for choir. I think maybe I need to meet with him again, but I think we're going to use it for choir next year as well. Very exciting. But also, a big event is theater students started using the website for Newsies. Lion King just ended last month, so we started auditioning for Newsies. People started creating accounts using my website. That went very smoothly, I'd like to say. I had no issues that was on my end with users creating accounts, so I was very happy. And then I also started looking at publishing the app to the Android Google Play Store and Apple Play Store, right? This process was kind of new to me, but I learned I had to beta test the app just with Android users for 2 weeks. With 15 users, so much work, not needed at all. Apple doesn't require that at all, but I had to do that. So Mr. Murphy sent out an email asking for all the Android users to download the app, test it for me, which was very nice. And then now we get into the end of first semester, going to Christmas break. My family's going to Colorado skiing. And I was going to be like, okay, this is going to be a really nice break for me. I'm going to get a break from Campus Connect, no more coding. Mr. Murphy started using the website to create a show outline for Newsies. Nothing can go wrong here. Plenty of things went wrong. Everything went wrong. Every single feature that I made for him, something went wrong with it. So I spent about half the time working on Campus Connect for him, texting him while walking through downtown Greeley, visiting the sites. So life of an app developer, I guess. But no, it was, I realized this was one of my biggest lessons I learned was I didn't test the website enough. I didn't test it thoroughly. I tested it like someone who knew how to use the website would use it, not how someone who's never used the website before. So this is something that was bound to happen because of how I made the website. And then also started working on parent accounts. So right now the app had like student accounts and teacher accounts, but holding a new set of accounts for parents. So completely new features. A lot of work, had no clue how I was going to handle some of the stuff I did, but I don't know why I started doing this during Christmas break. I'm very determined sometimes, so I just get it done then. My parents will know when I'm coding, I just do that for like 8 hours straight. I'm not joking. And then in January to February, the app finally got published to the App Store and the Google Play Store at the beginning of January. And then around 85 students started using it for theater, which is a pretty good number for me. And then near the end of January, I met with Mr. Lazel and Mr. Brockman to get some more feedback on how a sports team would use the app. And I discussed using Campus Connect for basketball next year. So they're going to use it next year as well, which is very exciting again. He gave some good feedback on how the website should handle event creation. I was able to connect the event creation to Google Sheets, so they don't even have to use the website if they don't even want to. You can now copy and paste events. And a big thing is you can now move the entire schedule forward a year. So at the end of the first basketball season, you can just move the whole schedule forward a year, so you don't have to recreate all the events. It'll automatically handle that for you, which is a thing that Mr. Brockman and Mr. Lazel loved, because their schedule's like exactly the same every single year except for like the games. So that's something I was like, I'm glad I could do that for you guys. And I finished working on parent accounts as well. And then, as expected, I guess, ran into another big bug with notifications not sending properly. This was an issue with, this is the first time I had like 50 people using the app at the same time, on the same day. Sending people notifications to 80 people is kind of hard, and making it send optimally is not something I knew how to do. So that was something I had to learn on the fly because people started using it, so I couldn't just put it off for like next week and the next month. I had to solve this like in 10 hours, kind of issue like that. So that was fun. And then I added caching to ride sharing, and because that wasn't there for some reason, I did not optimize my costs at all, so I was about to lose a lot of money if I released ride sharing publicly. And then I had the ability to request rides in the future. And also, yeah. And then in March, I finished most of the main features of the app, got to when I was going to start adding tutoring. It was like, I'm done. I was like, I have all the features I felt was needed for an app like this. I felt like tutoring was just being like sugar on top. I felt like everyone was happy with how it is right now, and I just wanted to finish the app so I can start having more coaches using it. And so that's what I did. I did not add tutoring, and I started meeting with some more coaches. So I met with the boys golf coach in the beginning of March, and they're actually using it for the season right now, which is very exciting to have a whole new demographic of people using it. I don't even play golf. I don't even know half the people on the team. But now I have people saying, like, I'm using your app for golf. I was like, what? Okay. I'm really happy. That was really cool. And then I met with the girls tennis coach and the girls softball coach, and they're going to use it next year since their seasons kind of started at the same time I showed it to them. It was kind of hard for them to transition. So they're going to use it next year. And then I also started developing the job and the volunteer board. And I actually finished that in like 2 weeks. And then so now time to meet with some companies. Fun. I really love public speaking, if you can't tell already. But so this is not only public speaking, but talking to adults is also really fun for me. So I met with Pastor King at King's Global Outreach. I did some volunteer work for him a few years ago, so I had some contact with him. Met with him at Firefly. He loved it. He was like, I really need more volunteers now, so it's like this is a great opportunity for him. Then I met with Deaconess Peters, who works at Shepherd's Hand. My Koinonia service day was at Shepherd's Hand, so I was like, this is another great place I can work with, and that'll help them. I think they have some events coming up next week, and maybe they're going to post on the app, hopefully. And then I had my last meeting with Mr. Furking, and this is where I had this wanting to do this maybe, was like, this would be great if I could, but I wanted to have other high schools use the app, and ideally this is where I'd make some money of selling the app to the high schools. So I was like, I don't even know where to go with this. Like, I'm a high schooler. I have a job, but I'm not like selling apps to anyone here. So I was like, okay, I'll talk to Mr. Furking. What would it look like for him? Was a principal looking for an app, and do they actually have like money to give me? Like, I'm not like just like take this money. It costs me money to make the app. I'm not just like asking for donations, but like, you know, it's kind of hard to go up to a board of people in high school and say, as a 18-year-old, hey, can you pay me some money to use this app? You know, it's kind of hard. But with that, I kind of finished the app, was really happy, but I had some lessons I learned along the way. I learned I really needed to create a more detailed plan of what I wanted the app to do and how I'm going to accomplish it. I think I probably wouldn't have ran into a lot of the bugs I did if I actually had a better plan. And then also test the app thoroughly. Try to break the app as much as possible, as much as you don't want to break the app, but you want to see the app broken when 80 people, 200 people aren't using it. You would rather have it when just one person, 2 people are using it, right? And then beta test as soon as possible and get lots of feedback from different types of users. I think I did a pretty good job with this, but I could have done an even better job with more students using it sooner, and then more coaches and more like employers also using it sooner. Would have been able to streamline this process a little more. And then what's next? I think I hinted at this a little more than I should have, but looking ahead, I want to expand and reach more high schools, reach more coaches, reach more sports. So as I said, softball, tennis, basketball is going to start using it next year. Marching band and choir, hopefully, will start using it next year. And I'm working on setting more meetings with other coaches like soccer and football and wrestling. And then I'm working on a meeting with Community Harvest and some other companies to start getting more job postings and volunteer postings as well. And then I want to show the high schools this, so I'm in the works of talking with Bishop Dwanger soon, hopefully, and meeting with their principal and showing it to them. And then I would love to get some other high schools to use Campus Connect. And lastly, I would like to thank a lot of people for making this long journey possible. My parents, they gave me the opportunity to learn how to develop apps and just provided a tremendous amount of support. They're always with me every single step, so I'm very grateful to them. Mr. Furking, he helped me understand the administrative aspects of the app that I could never learn by myself. He gave real-world experience that is very valuable to me. My friends for helping me test the app, spending countless hours out of their day helping me make sure this app was the best it could be, and for the constant feedback and support. My siblings for the artistic consultation, especially my sister. Not really that great at designing, making things look really great, so she really helped me every single time. I would just ask her, hey, can you look at this one button for a second while she was doing some homework or whatever. She'd instantly just come over and look at it. And then constant support. All my siblings were very helpful with it. Mr. Murphy, he was willing to test the app and understand and be really understanding when things went wrong for a whole 3 weeks in a row. Things didn't really work, so he was very helpful with that. And also all the other coaches who were willing to meet with me and give me a shot. And to everyone else who supported me along the way. And for all of you guys for coming here and supporting us. Thank you. And any questions? Yeah?
So during the process, you've worn a lot of hats. You've been a business analyst. You've gathered requirements. You've had to work as a coder, the developer's side of it, and then the testing. Do you feel like you're drawn to one particular side of this?
I'd say coding for sure. I find joy in, well, there's two sides of coding. There's the making, and then there's the fixing. I love the coding. I love the making and stuff. I dislike the fixing, but you have to have both. You can't just do one, unfortunately. So I would definitely say that. I also, definitely drawn to the coding aspect of it the most. Okay. Oh, it's Jack.
So you mentioned the equation you used to find ride sharing. Does that go as the bird flies, or does it go by roads at all?
It just goes as the bird flies. That's also one thing is if I wanted to use directions turn by turn, it'd be pretty cheap to do, but I was trying to keep the cost of this app pretty low. I did some cost analysis a few weeks ago, and I found for Concordia, it would cost me $400 to run for a year, which is very, what? Yeah, well, for in general, and then also adding that's Google, and they're very greedy, extremely greedy actually. It would be very expensive, and I found that the difference between doing straight lines and directions for going home to school isn't terribly much, and students won't care that much, hopefully. But yeah, I wanted to do turn by turn because I want to be most accurate as possible, but I just wasn't able to do that. And Mrs. Wallace?
Being part of your parent marketing team, because I hate downloading apps. I'm waiting for the kid to make sure they got a ride home, and I'm constantly checking right now. And
Yeah.
to have a band app, a sports app, and this app, I love how and I'm sure you kept thinking, how big can this thing get? But
Yeah.
you were thinking about the user, and that was brilliant. That's not a question.
Yeah, thank you, yeah.
Well done. I can't wait to.
That's lovely.
Mrs. Wallace?
Have you considered leaning into AI for any of your basic or repetitious coding?
Yeah, so I use GitHub Copilot. So I give a free pro account because I'm a student. So I use that for most of the coding, most of the repetition of, it's too much to explain, but there's a lot of repetitive code there that just automatically creates. It's also lead to some bugs that I had to fix. I have to look over it, but I use AI a lot. I'm a big believer in using AI to speed up the process a lot.
As a parent of children, we don't have a basketball team family. As a parent of kids in multiple schools, have you considered, I've heard you say multiple times you wanted to go to more high schools and have more high schools do it. Have you considered, instead of going to high schools, going to districts? and trying to get a district involved.
Yeah.
'Cause then we could combine everything into one place.
Yeah, so ideally I'd like to get like Fort Wayne using it, everyone, because that would help with ride sharing. That would also help with volunteering, because you'd have every Fort Wayne high schooler using it, so then volunteer, like companies could just put, hey, I want like 5 people, they could get 5 people really fast. That's just a more time, like I have to reach out to everyone. I want to go more slowly so I build more credibility for myself. Like, my end goal was really just getting Fort Wayne Community Schools using it, and I don't know if I'm going to reach that because I'm going to go to college next year, so I don't know how much time I'm going to put into this in the future. I would love to. I would love to continue building this to what it could be, but I just don't know how much time I'm going to have with college and stuff.
So you mentioned the future, that in the future this coach is going to be using it, this coach is going to be using it.
Yeah.
You're going to college, who's going to manage how?
Yeah, so I worked with Mr. Storm. Actually, I kind of completely forgot to include this in my slideshow. I kind of forgot this existed in the app. So the app is also synced with the school's calendar. So it knows when it's an A day, when it's a B day, when it's a C day, when it's a D day, when it's an E day, when there's no school because of Easter or MLK Day or Good Friday, right? So then when teachers are creating the schedules, it also tells them, hey, there's spring break this week. Do you still want to have a rehearsal? Whatever. So I had Mr. Storm who's going to be managing that. But everything else is user-generated, so all the teachers are adding all the events. I have no input right now of what they're doing. The only thing I'm fixing is bugs. And I'm expecting more bugs probably next year when more students are using it. But hopefully it'll be like minimal or small. I'm trying to fix the big things right now. That's why I'm trying to get more people using it this year so I can find all of them now. But I'm realistic now. There's going to be more, so I'll have to fix those in college. But hopefully some weekends I'll be free to fix it, but we'll see. Okay, Mr. Jane?
So you talked about when you make the website earlier that you use the website knowing how it's intended to use it. It's hard for you to think about how a novice would use it. You're looking at the app as someone who wants to use it for good purposes, and you thought about nefarious purposes for the app. How could this be used poorly, or maybe blacking out purposes for this?
Okay, yeah, that's interesting you asked that. So when you create accounts, every account is guarded by a code unless you're a student. So if you don't go to Concordia, you can in theory create an account at Concordia. You'd have to either know the ending of emails. So when you create an account, it looks at the end of the email. All the Concordia emails, if you don't know, is 25. Mine is 25 nkemmynash@clhcredits.com. So I look for that. That's how I know what school you're in. Or there's a school code that's just CLHS. So students could create, if student gave that to someone at Homestead, they could create accounts there, but they would still have to know an activity code. So they would still have to know, like, Theda's activity code is like 888222, whatever, just a random 6-digit code I made up. But so I try to make sure that didn't happen. Like all the teachers' codes, I'm not going to say what the teacher code is out loud, but there is a code for teachers to create accounts, and I trust teachers not to tell students that. But if they do, I could delete their account in the back end, but there's not much students can do on the student account that's nefarious. There's some inherent risk with the Firebase. It's pretty secure, but my security rules aren't great if you have an account, if you've authenticated. There's some way you could hack into the back end, but I'm not a cybersecurity specialist at all, so I don't know how to defend that more than trusting Google to protect it by itself, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Does that answer your question? Okay, Scotland?
You have, as you stated, 5 novels worth of code.
Yeah.
And sometimes problems in code can come from redundant coding or multiple lines doing the same thing. So how optimized is your code so that there isn't any redundancy?
Yeah, so that's what main thing I've been working on right now is optimizing a lot of like the ride sharing stuff, and I just added the feature to change people's names in emails because little do you know, people don't know how to type their email incorrectly, which is very unfortunate for parents trying to create accounts because you have to send an email to the child to accept the parent request. And if that doesn't work, then they can't get the email. So I've been having to forward some emails to people. They still haven't changed the email yet, even though you can do it. But that's a big thing with the backends. Backends aren't synchronous, so they don't happen in real time. You have to wait for that thing to happen, and then you can continue running your code, which can add to a lot of runtime making it run longer. So I've been working on making that run synchronously, run in parallel, and stuff. Does that answer?
Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Rose?
Thank you, Nathaniel, for all the commitment you've given to Concordia Lutheran High School and your efforts to learn and dive into your field. Would you share with the group what your plans are for after you graduate?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Purdue West Lafayette and study computer science. I'm probably also going to get a minor in math. I also learned it's pretty easy to get that after you have a computer science major. Also, I'm moving with that man in the back right there, Kyle Van Meter. Looking forward to it. Kind of psyched for that. Any other? Say, did you have a question? Okay.
Good job.